Hey guys, so today's video we are going to be doing another catch-up kind of review video. I hope you guys don't mind that I'm doing most of my reviews this way. There is a movie that I think I might dedicate a whole video to because it's just been a while since I've done that, and I kind of miss like delving deeper, talking about spoilers, things like that, because I don't do that in these videos. These videos are always like straight and to the point, very short reviews, and I don't know how you guys have been feeling about it. I like these sometimes because I can cover more movies this way, but you tell me your preferences. So today we're going to be covering 4 movies like usual. They are going to be Coherence, VFW, Vivarium, and The Girl with All the Gifts, and I will have timestamps for all of the reviews down below if you only care about 1 or 2 of them. But before we get into the review, I just want to thank Skillshare for sponsoring this video. We have another sponsor, guys, on this channel. I am so excited. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of different types of inspiring and motivating classes, so you can strengthen existing passions or explore new creative outlets. I think Skillshare is a great resource, especially at a time like this if you're feeling a little bit anxious or stressed out about what's going on. They have a lot of classes on self-discovery and journaling to help you practice mindfulness, which I think is really important. I've used Skillshare for I think over a year now at this point, and I personally love all the creative classes on there because that's something that I personally struggle with. One class that I'm excited about is Everyday Minimalism, Find Calm and Creativity in Living Simply by Erin Boyle, and she basically just helps guide you in letting things go. I think focusing on our environment and simplifying our life at home is really impactful on our mental health and is especially important in a time like this. So the first 1,000 people to click the link in my description will get 2 months of premium membership of Skillshare for free, and then after that it's only around $10 a month. So the first movie we're going to be talking about today is Coherence, which came out in 2014. This is actually more of like a sci-fi thriller type movie. So Coherence follows a group of friends at a dinner party on the night of a passing comet that happens to be affecting Earth and causing strange things to happen. I think this movie is very similar to Triangle, which you guys know I love oh so much and have been recommending endlessly on socials and YouTube and everything. It's just one of my favorite movies, and this movie isn't as good as Triangle by any means, but it is kind of in the same tone as Triangle and it's very reminiscent of it for me. So the director James Burkett, who also helped write Rango, if you've seen that movie, it's a great movie. He was inspired by the Twilight Zone for this movie, and I think that's pretty apparent because it honestly feels like it could be a Twilight Zone episode. I love all of the creative and stylistic and budget choices that they chose to make for this movie. For instance, the entire movie is filmed in the director's home, and because his wife was pregnant and wanted a home birth, she said you can film at home but you only have 5 days to do it, so they filmed it all in 5 days. Also, most of the dialogue was actually improvised throughout this movie. They were given a short paragraph of kind of something to follow and like a goal for the day, and then from there they would just go off of the other characters and actors' reactions. The budget was only $50,000 for this movie and only had 5 crew members working on it. Also, they rented 3 rental cars in order to be able to break the windows for these, and they just replaced the windows before returning them. So they didn't even like tell them what they were using the cars for or that they used them for that or anything. And I think it's all of these kind of budget choices and artistic choices that really make this movie successful, because it is a lower budget kind of B type of movie. So I think keeping it this simple and this low of a budget was actually what made it so amazing. It all felt very real, like we were looking into a dinner party of these friends. They all felt like real people to me, and the dialogue obviously felt very real instead of scripted because it pretty much was. And I was actually really surprised at how much I liked this movie, and it's definitely a hidden gem. It's streaming free right now on Tubi if you want to check it out. I would highly recommend it. I think it was a nice surprise. Is it a B movie with a low budget? Yes, but everything was executed really, really well, and I really love the simplicity of it. Next up, we're going to talk about VFW, which came out last year. This follows a group of war veterans after a desperate teen runs into their VFW post with a bag of stolen drugs, and a gang of punks try to come after her, and the vets must protect her and their post. So this is directed by Joe Bagos, I think that's how you pronounce his name. He also directed Bliss. So this movie was filmed on location at an actual VFW post in Texas, and in case you don't know what a VFW post is, it stands for for veterans of foreign wars, and basically it's an organization that gives resources to veterans of foreign wars. So they kind of hang out there. There's like a bar and like games and things like that. So this movie was actually a lot better than I expected going into it. I knew based on the trailer and the poster and everything, it was gonna be kind of a fun type of movie. I knew it was gonna be pretty violent, but it was actually way more entertaining and well done than I could have anticipated. I think it actually was executed really, really well. And I didn't really hear a lot of people talk about this movie before or after. There was like some tweets here and there that I saw promoting the movie, but otherwise I think it stayed pretty much under the radar. I personally had like a personal connection to this movie because my stepdad is a veteran from Vietnam, and every character, like old guy in this movie, just was so like reminded me so much of my stepdad. So I think that kind of made me enjoy it that much more, because that is exactly how my stepdad Bill would like react in certain situations. And there were some aspects of this movie that made me think it was futuristic in a way and took place later. And I'm not sure, I think it was the punks. They just looked kind of futuristic. I can't remember or recall what made me think it took place in the future, but I kind of wish it did. Like the old veterans were veterans from the Iraq War, and this took place like 40 years from now or something. I think that would be really cool. So this is a lower budget film, bigger budget than Coherence, but a lower budget film nonetheless. So some aspects weren't as strong in this, like the cinematography and sometimes the lighting, but it is a really gory film, and I think that they did that really well. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of the movie Green Room, if you've seen that. I love that movie. It's one of my favorites. This kind of reminds me of that type of movie. And this is more of an action horror movie, so it's focused on the gore. But overall, I actually really enjoyed this movie, and it was a very like straightforward kind of movie. You know what you're getting into when you watch it. It's not too complex or deep or anything like that. It's just like an action horror. Next up is Vivarium, which actually just came out this year. And as soon as I saw the plot and the cast for this, I knew I was in. So Vivarium follows a couple played by Imogen Poots and Jesse Eisenberg who are looking for their dream house, and they visit a home in a seemingly perfect suburbia when they realize they can't escape the labyrinth-like streets, which all lead right back to the house where they started. How do I even go into reviewing or describing this movie? It is a mind fuck, right? This is a very, very bizarre movie and is definitely not going to be for everyone. There were so many parts I was like, do I love that? Do I hate that? Am I just uncomfortable with it? Of course, this movie, if you've seen it, you know it is a big metaphorical movie, right? And I think that's pretty obvious when you're watching it what the metaphor is. So I think it tries to be deeper than it has to be. I don't know. I would recommend looking into deeper meanings about everything about this movie if you have seen it, or I do recommend watching it. So after you watch it, look into it a little bit, look up some trivia for it, because it is quite fascinating. Did it try too hard sometimes? Yes, but I do think it was actually done really well. And I liked the weirdness of this movie, but like I said, not gonna be for everyone. It's kind of artsy, very unrealistic, almost dystopian in a way. I also saw some criticism for the casting of Jesse Eisenberg in this role because of how the character acts and things, and I don't agree with that criticism, because he is a typecast kind of person, kind of actor, so I think this is just like another side of many characters that he's played before. It's just a little bit different for him. So we need to stop typecasting actors, you know. This movie does get pretty dark, which I actually liked, because, you know, throughout the middle of the movie, it is just dragging on and on and on, and it is so repetitive, which I think was on purpose because of the repetitiveness of the suburbia and just that life. I don't know, I don't want to like give anything away, but basically it's just very, very repetitive and like dragging on in the middle of the movie. So when it finally takes a turn and becomes kind of dark, I was actually really excited about that. So the pacing and everything within the movie I think was an artistic choice, which again is another thing maybe they tried too hard at, but I really liked it. I'm not gonna lie, artistic type movies like this aren't always my favorites, right? I did not enjoy The Lighthouse for that very reason. It was very pretentious of a movie for me and it tried too hard. This one, I think there's a little bit of that in there, of like the weirdness, but I think it was still executed well and it was an enjoyable movie. I really had a fun ride going along with this movie. Lastly, we're gonna talk about The Girl with All the Gifts. Now this is streaming on Netflix, and this is a zombie movie that follows a gifted unexpected young girl who is among a group of children that are immune to a mutated fungal disease that turns people into cannibalistic zombies. She helps guide some who were able to escape a special school overrun with zombies. Now, this is a dystopian drama horror, so at first glance, I thought I was gonna really like it. First 30 minutes in, thought I was really gonna like it, and then it let me down. Now, this is based on a book by M.R. Carey, and they did change a lot about the characters in this movie. I've seen some people comparing the plot of this movie to the plot of the video game The Last of Us, if that gives you kind of an idea of what this kind of movie is if you played that video game. So I was really into the first half of this movie, and I loved the beginning and how it opened and everything, and the middle, again, was very slow and repetitive, and they did do a lot of zombie tropes that they do a lot in zombie movies. And you do kind of have to forgive it a little bit because it is based on a book, but they did choose to change a lot about the characters, so they could have updated some of the story as well if they wanted to. So I don't want to go too harsh on it because it's based on a book. They can't change too much, but at the same time, I'm reviewing it as a movie. So in that sense, I didn't like all the zombie tropes. What really ruined it for me and was like the last nail in the coffin for me for this movie was the ending. The choices of all the characters did not make sense. Even throughout the movie, I would say, sometimes I would be left questioning, well, why didn't they just do that? Why didn't they just do that? Why did she do that? And I guess in that sense, it was unexpected, which maybe is better than what I was anticipating because it was already kind of a generic zombie story. So maybe if it was something that I expected them to do, it would have made it worse anyway. But there was just something about the ending that made no sense, like why it ended that way. It just didn't seem appropriate for the characters in the story at all. And also, I don't think the acting was too fantastic. It does have Glenn Close in it, which I really love, but generally I didn't like the acting of the young girl that much. I'm sorry. I don't know if it was just me that was left like kind of confused at the end of why it went that way. I don't know if that really is just me because I've seen a lot of people rave about this movie. I don't think it's anything spectacular. I mean, it's okay. It has an interesting premise. Has it been done before? Sure. But overall, I mean, I don't recommend it because I was just let down by it. Even if it did do like zombie tropes and things like that, at least it could have had a better ending, and had it been a little bit more enjoyable, I'd recommend it. But at this point, it's not that great. So those are my thoughts on those 4 movies. Make sure you leave your thoughts on these 4 movies down below and leave requests for any movies you want me to review either individually in their own videos, if you want me to go deeper diving into the review and spoilers and everything like that, or just mini reviews like this. You just want me to check out a movie and give you my general thoughts on it. Please let me know down below. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.